are not necessarily fact-centric, they are impact-centric. So here the context was, because the family was not simply a family, the family had servants also. And when we talk about money, when we talk about land, when we talk about wealth, in those times, land was abundantly available. Anybody could go to the king, anybody could go to the landlord and ask, I need 4 acres of land, I need 5 acres of land. People would provide them. So therefore, there was no value added by owning something, because you could start your farming anywhere and everywhere. The servant experienced greater protection being under the care of his master, because the master took care of servant as if they were his children. And the son would not own anything, because as the father would move on to the next life's journey, depart from this world, automatically no legalities were required, no will paper was required, no costly lawyers were required. It would move towards the son, the resources. Now, women here specifically means why Vidura is speaking about this. Again, because a woman always experienced protection. We are not talking about she was controlled. Suraksha or Niyantran. There is a difference between the two, Suraksha and Niyantran. She experienced Suraksha, protection. Therefore, when somebody is there to handle their resources, why would they care for it? Yesterday, I was talking to a businessman, so he was telling that there are 3 principles in money also: creation, destruction, and maintenance. He was explaining money creation is very possible. Money destruction is very easy. But maintaining what you have created is most difficult. That was most difficult. So therefore the point is, just a minute. So the point he is talking about, that wealth creation, the wealth creation, wealth maintenance, and wealth destruction. So wealth creation is possible. Wealth maintenance was difficult. Therefore, 70 to 80% of those who make money, they are have a difficulty in managing accounts, legalities, income tax, this tax, that tax, so they get into trouble. So imagine somebody is always caring for you for generation after generation. Why would they want to own something and maintain the headache? Of course, that time the taxes were there, 1/6 of the taxes, but much easier. So anybody who knows that I'll be protected nicely, cared nicely, whenever I want anything, it will be given to me. The king, there are many stories. King offering half of the kingdom to his very wife as a gift. So that is the context. And that same Vidura, understand the context, the same Vidura in the Mahabharat explains to Kauravas that in the gambling match, Draupadi cannot be put as a wager, because a person who has lost himself, Yudhishthira Maharaj had already lost. So one who is lost, he cannot own anything. Yudhishthira cannot own anything. So how can he put somebody or something when he himself is a slave or lost everything? So therefore Draupadi is a free woman. She cannot be used. And Manu, in Manu Samhita, talks about Stri Dhan. Bhishmadev in Stri Dharma talks about Stri Dhan. And absolutely, when a woman becomes a wife, When a woman is a daughter getting married, a woman is a mother, she would also own many things. So the context is important to understand. Therefore, it may be controversy when you just read the verse. But when you see things from higher perspective, it is extremely nicely coordinated. Now in the Vedic sanskaras, the Agni and Puja, these two things are so ingrained in the behavior of people in Sanatan Dharma. Every evening you would actually put a lamp, deep, right? Then there would be puja. So that did not stop generation after generation, generation after generation. So Agni and puja is an integral part of your life. So here, father is considered as Agni, mother is considered as Agni, and Agni itself is Agni, not Aag. सिगरेट का धुआं आग नहीं होता, अग्नि नहीं होती है. Agni is a very pavitra shabd, Agni Narayan. Then when you are Atma, those who do not believe in Punarjanma, those who don't believe in the concept of Atma, they do not have Agni within. इसलिए Agni means enlightenment. Agni means wisdom. Agni means knowledge. When you don't have Agni, you don't exist. And the fifth is Guru is also Agni. What does he do? He removes all the contamination from one's ignorance and gives you the knowledge of Agni. So these five are considered as Agni by Vidura. And then worship, puja. Whose worship do we do? Devata. Again, worshipping the Devata is an integral part of the followers of Sanatana Dharma. Higher beings, those who are contributing. In the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 10th verse, Krishna talks about it. Paraspara bhavayanta te bhavayantu. Then Pitris, now Pitra Paksha is going on. Those who want to hear, last year we discussed about the Pitri Puja. Now for next 15 days, there is Pitri Puja. Right? Imagine in Sanatan Dharma, you deal with all the layers of sensitively contributing. You have Devatas, you have Pitris, and you have Manushya also. Sometimes people make this comment, what is the point in worshipping the dead Pitris? It's better to serve the human being. Who is cancelling that? Bhuta Puja. No, in the so many scriptural understanding, in common sense, in Jyotish Shastra also, Sadharan Manushyon ki bhi puja. Not to worship them as God, not to worship them as Supreme Brahman, but to see that aspect, that spirit, and contributing. When you give them charity, it is not that you are superior. By giving them charity, you are undoing your own rana, your karma. And sannyasi, worshipping the sannyasi and worshipping the atithi. You cannot say, I only do one. You cannot say, I do only one Agni Puja. This is the integration of all the five. Devatas are there, Pitris are there, Manushyas are there, Sannyasis are there, and Atithis are there. Atithi, Devo Bhava. The Britisher came as Atithi. And then they did Phajitiya Bharat, took so much of wealth. Right? So, the queen, when she passed away, there is a huge burden of enjoying the world's wealth at the cost of destroying many culture. She may be a refined lady in her personal interaction, but she holds lots of burden of, being as powerful as she was because of destroying many civilizational reality. Not such Atithi. Atithi, one who does not destroy you. they should be worshipped. Give these up. There are some things very interesting. Non-teaching acharya, whether he's teaching you maths, whether he's teaching statistics, whether he's supposed to teach you Vedanta, whether he's supposed to teach you Gita, whether he's supposed to teach you any subject which is meant for your this is all material, not required, all these things, right? So there is an inner happiness and there is an external happiness. We dealt with little bit last week. There is a fulfillment and there is success. So here Vidura is speaking about successful life. And that successful life gives rise to a fulfilled life also. When that success life is connected to inner journey of Adhyatma. But here is talking about the practical life, wealth. However much one may say, oh, money is not important. Who says that? Those who have money. Those who don't have anything, they struggle to earn something. Wealth. Second, Roga Mukta Jivan. 100 years ago, people had less to eat. Therefore, they are disciplined in eating and less disease. Now we have all kinds of diagnostic machine. People have become more conscious of alternating living also. They can fly anywhere, everywhere, to get treated. But what is the condition of the modern world? People are diseased. Today only one devotee friend, he was saying, his nephew was 38-year-old, massive heart attack, passed away. Favorable relationship, man or woman, so important. It is one thing to say, oh, it doesn't matter, at least we can take shelter of God deeply. This becomes very superficial understanding. So here, favorable, obedient son, knowledge of earning money, again, saving, protecting, growing. That knowledge, if it is not there, then one cannot experience external happiness. And when you add dharma and adhyatma to here, then inner fulfillment and external success becomes a beautiful dynamic circle. The next one, Vidura speaks about personal growth. Is there a chance for personal growth in the Mahabharat? Or is it that you're only doing for the state, or you're doing for the Rashtra, or you're doing it for Rishi, or you're doing it for God? Personal growth is what makes you qualified to offer something to your superiors. Whether your friends, whether your elderly family members, or whether it is, guru or temple, right? So therefore, Vidura gives this 4 amazing principles. He said, any success requires 4 things. Yoga. What is yoga? Connection, mentorship. In this world, whether you are playing cricket, whether you are in film industry, whether you are in the spiritual path, you need connection to grow. As long as that connection is not there, struggle increases. If the connection is there and we are willing to achieve the next step, so connection and dakshata. Dakshata means skillfully growing in your particular field of activity. Connection is there, expertise is there, tantra, then there has to be strategy. Right? And then there has to be attachment for whom? Those who are like rishis, the teachers, the guru. So yoga, dakshata, tantra, raga, these are the 4 principles gives rise to one person's growth. It is extremely realistic rather than simply emotional. So next thing Vidura explains, that there is a disease which is uncurable. One cannot cure this disease. What is that? When you're eyeing on others' wealth, दूसरों के संपत्ति को देखकर जलते हो, दूसरे के सौंदर्य, by seeing the beauty of others, by seeing the valor of others, by seeing somebody born in a good family, or people are happy, or people are fortunate, and people are respected. What does it do to you when you see all these things? अगर इससे जलन होती है, उसे नींद नहीं आती है, उसे डिस्टर्बेंस होती है, ऐसा व्यक्ति बीमार होते जाएगा और उस बीमारी के लिए फॉर दैट काइंड ऑफ रोग देयर इज नो मेडिसिन ओनली. That's another important principle. This is an amazing concept he explains. No? One who is intoxicated by wealth wants flesh to consume. One of the tragedy of Indian families who used to be vegetarian and pious and wealthy, they never thought of consuming meat. Forget personal consumption, even in different kinds of parties, marriage ceremony. In fact, even the non-vegetarian people, the cultural non-vegetarian people, poor people, basically ate because where they lived, but during marriage ceremony, they would not serve at all. They would not serve. I was talking to one friend. No, he was explaining that their ancestors, they came to Mumbai, being brought by the big business families, no, for doing paurohitya, puja काम करने के लिए उनको लेकर आए, purely worshipping the deities. Just talking about one story. Then what happened? Those people, some other, they worked in a British kind of school. From being a paurohitya, they would have a pipe in smoking and only speaking in English. कहाँ से कहाँ चले गए? Right? Why? Because the ritual was there, but the reason and logic was not. So therefore, whenever there is wealth, we see that wealth is used for slaughtering the animals recklessly. When a Vaishya and a Brahmana, Kshatriya, out of compulsion, he would sometime eat flesh. One who is intoxicated by wealth wants to cut animals. Imagine how much animals are killed. I am not necessarily saying that everybody has to be vegetarian. Here, see, and just think about, the wealthy countries and people who are wealthy with modernization, they have no problem eating flesh. Whether it is some famous actor from Brahmastra or some movie producer, one who produced Kashmiri Files, maybe he has given up now. They are saying Agnihotri, eating beef. If you go to a ordinary fisherman in the villages, he might eat fish, he might eat goat, but never ever touch the flesh of a cow. ताकि धन और तथाकथित विद्या makes you become so intoxicated with that, you want to cut the animals. Madhyama Purusha, one who is stable, what does he do? He eats food cooked in ghee. And the poor person uses oil for his food. He crushes sesame seeds, he crushes peanuts, he crushes mustard seed. In this way, he makes many oil and uses in his food. And then next verse, which Vidura speaks about a very interesting verse. He says, bathing in tirtha and being sensitive towards human being, the former is better. Huh? So therefore, now this is Vidura's Shabda. Vidur himself is called as Tirtha. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Swantastena Gadavrata. When Yudhishthira Maharaj saw Vidurji coming back, he glorified that you are Tirtha Rupa. In the olden times, when there was this concept of writing letter was there, email, not even email, just WhatsApp, not even WhatsApp, just message, right? Using the Siri. So they would write Tirtha Swarupa, Dadaji ko, Pitaji ko, Tirtha Swarupa, right? So here bathing Tirtha is one thing, very powerful, but here Vidu says being sensitive towards other human being, former is better. That is better, the former is better. And then Dhritarashtra raised this question. He said even Devatas expect to work with Uttama Kulina people. Kulin, Uttama Kulina. Those who are refined, those who are efficient, those who are transparent. Right? Even Devatas wants to work them. How do you recognize them? Then Vidura answered, you see people with tapa. Now, I'm not saying tapa is simply sitting, doing tapasya. That is a very, very narrow understanding of tapa. Tapa means in any aspect of their life where they are working diligently, that is tapasya. Self-control, Veda Adhyan, Yagya, and then comes Pavitra Vivaha, and always giving charity. This is called as Kulina people. How do you recognize them? Does he ever say that he has to be born in a Brahmin family? Does he say they should be born in an aristocratic family? Does he say they should be wealthy? Wealth is required. Kshatriyas are required. Educationalists are required. But here the quality of person whom we are supposed to recognize as Kulina has this kind of traits. And sure enough, if the family has such members in their house, so they do Garbhadhan Samskar also properly. And therefore in such family, it is but natural, good people, the people with legacy will be born. Natural tapa, natural self-control, natural Veda Adhyan, natural Yagya, naturally focusing on Pavitra Vivaha and always giving charity. He is Kulina, not Jati, not caste. Never slacken in Sadachar. Do not trouble their parents' one's own limitation. Dharma with discipline, pleasant disposition, asatya is rejected, they are Kulina. Who are Kulina? It is not connected to Jati, no caste. Their Sadachara is very steady. They do not become disturbed by the limitation of their parents. And Dharma is there, but pleasant disposition also is there. And they are very good at rejecting asatya. Such people are considered as Kulina. This is another beautiful one. The whole, basically when we study carefully, Santap, I was sharing with somebody. Santapa, sun means what? Samyak. Santapa. Santap, when we are lamenting. Lamentation or santap, please repeat this word santap to yourself. Samyak taap, jo aapko garam kar deta hai. Aap disturbed ho. There is a lamentation. What does it do? Santap destroys your beauty. That tapa removes that charm from your face. That santapa makes your skin go dull. Your Romakupa, does not breathe properly because you're disturbed. Then santapa destroys your strength. थकते हैं, right? They cannot walk longer because there is so much of anxiety and depression. There is a tension. Like in the breathing exercise in pranayam, if you study carefully, when we breathe normally, and when you are actually a little disturbed, what do? You take a deep breath, dirgha shwas, right? You take a deep breath on your own, but the release is 1/4 of the deep breath what you have taken. See that, like that, where you take and you release. But when you are not in santapa, you are able to sit in a quiet place. When you are breathing, what happens? Eventually, your breathing process changes. The inhale is long, inhale is deep, and exhale is long. 4:8, 6:12. उल्टा हो जाता है, परिवर्तित हो जाता है. अगर चिंतित हो, संताप्त में हो, तो आपका स्ट्रेंथ कम होने लगता है. यू स्टार्ट ब्रीदिंग फ्रॉम द माउथ ऑल्सो. टेक अ डीप ब्रेथ एंड यू रिलीज फास्ट. यू टेक अ डीप ब्रेथ एंड यू रिलीज फास्ट. That's very, very dangerous for one's strength. Third, santapa destroys knowledge. जो तपा हुआ है, just like Bhaktiari, right? He destroyed the large quantity of India's library. ज्ञान को नष्ट करने का प्रयास किया, ज्ञान के धारा को, ज्ञान के ग्रंथों को नष्ट कर दिया, जला दिया. Similarly, tapa has the power to destroy our common sense. Tapa has power to destroy our wisdom. Tapa has a power to destroy our information. बुद्धि काम नहीं करती है. And what does it do? Santapa basically makes us रोगी, हमें रोगी बना देता है. It makes us rogi. Can you imagine? Mental health caused by stress and depression leads into a lot of physical losses also. रोग. आधुनिक समाज अपने प्रगति के साथ में रोगग्रस्त होने में बहुत प्रगत हो गया है. Because living a life of pain and santap, right? Next one. Buddhi destroys fear. See, बुद्धि, ताप ज्ञान को नष्ट करता है, बुद्धि भय को नष्ट कर देता है. Tapasya gives great position. We will discuss in detail. Guru Seva gives knowledge. Yoga gives peace. Right? Now, let us dwell a little bit here. Buddhi destroys fear. Now, when Vidura is presenting this, contemplate. Every aspect is very important here. Today I was sharing with somebody, we were discussing. He's a very good integral doctor. He's a medical doctor, he's a healer, and he's a Jyotish Shastragya, young boy. Right? We were discussing that generally, when you lose common sense, you become an exclusivist. You take one thing, I just want to do tapasya. I just want to do seva. I just want to do yoga. I just want to give knowledge. I just want to learn knowledge. But here, if you want to grow as an integral person, it's very important. What is buddhi? Buddhi awakens you. Light removes your fear of darkness. That's an external darkness it removes. But Surya Prakash is also connected to knowledge, vidya. Right? So therefore, when you have a buddhi, when you have some clarity, some trend, what's happening, so then you have the power to destroy your fear. डर चला जाता है. अगर किसी को रोग, किसी को, if somebody has a problem with health but they don't know what has happened to them, today in one goshala, one covered boy, he was carrying grass and suddenly something bit him. He didn't know what bit him. His middle finger became blackish blue. And he became so fearful because he didn't know what happened. And they took him to the hospital. He became unconscious. And the doctor said, one of the reasons why the poison has spread everywhere, because the fear created the blood pressure. No? I remember talking to one snake charmer in Bangalore. He's caught 5,000 snakes. He explained a very interesting point, which is very difficult to execute and follow. He said, when a snake bits somebody, one of the most important principles is not to breathe heavily, not to run heavily. He said, don't allow the blood circulation to move faster. If they can hold breath, sit peacefully. That is the first aid in regards to snake bite. Because डरने के कारण ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ जाता है, तो इसलिए वो समस्या का कारण बन जाता है. So therefore, if something happens or something is about to happen and you don't know what is the solution, the fear simply increases. But you have motamoti, some aspect of buddhi, then it gives rise to overcoming the fear. What is tapasya? Gives great position. Again, if you see in the modern world, why some of the countries like Japan, America, Germany, these countries materially are very successful. Spiritually, socially, there's a lot of trouble, right? But the point is, just because they're spiritually, socially, failure, one cannot underestimate the power to occupy different position. Because the society also needs good people to occupy better position. Whether it is political position, whether it is administrative position, whether it is the judiciary, right? Like we see Ravana perform great tapasya, therefore he occupied big position. So humble person can attract people's heart. But if it doesn't have the resources to occupy a big position, we feel good about him, we feel good to associate with him, but he cannot change your life. क्योंकि उसके अंदर तपस्या करने की क्षमता नहीं है, working long hours is not there. So therefore here tapasya is basically ability to work longer, harder and smarter. Only that can give you a position. Very simple. Buddhi destroys the fear, tapasya gives great position. Guru Seva gives knowledge. In the Mahabharat, Krishna told this to Arjun. Do you not serve your superiors? वृद्धों की सेवा नहीं करते हो? Here, Vriddha, Guru means heavy. Vriddha is not only necessarily means biologically become old. Lost your hair, your teeth have fallen. That is not the definition of Vriddha alone. Vriddha means to be matured. So when you are connected to someone is Vriddha and Acharya or Guru, what does it give? He gives knowledge. Association with him gives you wisdom. He cannot give you position. Tapasya will give you position. Guru gives you knowledge. Tapasya gives you position. Buddha destroys your fear. परंतु इनर के लिए कुछ कर रहे हो क्या? इनर सेटिस्फैक्शन के लिए, इनर पीस के लिए, what does it do? Yoga gives peace. Bhakti yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Jnana yoga, Dhyana yoga. You know, one of the most easiest way to experience peace is today only one 17 or 16-year-old student, very ambitious, wants to grow. Every day without fail, 15 minutes, 20 minutes sits for meditation and experience immense peace. हमें शांति की आवश्यकता है. Buddhi does not give you peace. Buddhi removes fear. Yoga gives you peace. Right? Please understand. So these four things. भय को निकालना, स्थान को देना, गुरु सेवा ज्ञान को देना, योग आपको शांति देना. Right? Now this is one very powerful verse Vidura speaks. Very practical, speaking to Dhritarashtra. And what does he say? He says that just like one finds milk in the cow. Tapa, now here tapasya is different from this tapasya. Tapa in Brahmana. Restlessness in some woman. Similarly to fear or to be fearful of relatives is natural. This is, and therefore repeatedly we can speak that Nani Palkiwala said, after if there is something closer to eternality, is a civil suit in India. Like I'm doing a seminar with one organization, psychology of a manager, psychology of a system, and psychology of a leader. None of this you can actually reject. A psychology of an organization is the organization psychology of survival of the fittest. Those who are managing the organization, they also believe survival of the fittest. Therefore, survival of the fittest is a reality on the nature level. Prakriti ka satya hai. This is the truth of Prakriti. You cannot deny this. If you are not fit, you do not survive. You cannot say, no. That is a Prakriti. And what is the Sanskriti? The Sanskriti is that those who are fit, when they empower others, those who are underprivileged, that is Sanskriti. And what is Vikriti? The Vikriti is those who are powerful, but they are basically continue to exploit other, they give rise to Vikriti. So whether it is Vidura, whether it is Pandavas experienced the fear of relatives, asking anything from good relatives, or bad relatives destroying the good relatives. Hundreds of cases this happens. So therefore, Bhishma Dev in the Mahabharat, he explains to Yudhishthira Maharaj, he said, Prakriti se chaloge, and most of the time we were based upon Prakriti only, means this environment. What is it? Survival of the fittest. And people want to be fit at the cost of others. And those, therefore, those are smart and fit, those who are smart, fit and good, they're very careful about their relationships. They never cheat them, but never allow others to cheat them. Srila Prabhupada explained to some of his devotees that those who cheat, they're very bad. And those who get cheated second time, those who get cheated, they're stupid. First time you get cheated, there is a sympathy. Second time you get cheated, then you should be punished. Why? Because you are not learning your lesson. Therefore, from the early childhood, what do we teach children? Only Nishpapata. Now, when they come to the school, they are certainly taught Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. They are taught the four Vedas, Sama, Dana, Danda, Bheda. How do you think Prahlad Maharaj ruled his country, his Rashtra? He saw his father had an obsession of the Sama, Dana, Danda, Bheda. Therefore, he said, this is bogus what Shukracharya is teaching. That does not mean that Prahlad Maharaj did not learn this principle. In running of his kingdom, imagine he was a king midst of so many Rakshasas, therefore he had to be smart. If you are not smart, then you become a sadhu in the Himalayan mountains, not even in modern, very sophisticated systems. There also you need smartness. So therefore, those who are closer to you, for you to protect them and protect yourself, being smart, alert, at the same time considerate, becomes extremely important. In this way, our Vidurji speaks many things about personal growth. How do we grow? Next week, we will see more aspects of Vidura's philosophy to Dhritarashtra in regards to, war, in regards to wealth, in regards to relationship with the Pandavas. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very commonsensical understanding of personal growth. Prabhuji, we find that people who are very successful sometimes do not have enough understanding of dharma. And on the other side, people who have a good understanding of dharma or spirituality are not very successful. And very rarely we find people who can integrate both of these concepts in their life. So what do you think is the reason for this gap?
I think we have discussed this many times also, that there is a conflict between Ved and Vedanta. I was discussing, why do you think Germany, Japan, I discussed that. They are growing because they're very clear that we want to grow in this land. And what happens in India, unfortunately, many times, the philosophy is also tried to apply in our regular life. Philosophy is for reflection and Vyavahar is for application. Please understand. So smartness is required to be successful and gratitude is required to be fulfilled. So the fulfillment is the principle of, spiritual growth. Success is the principle of artha and kama's growth. When we do not create the integration between the two, therefore that is called as Rajarshi. The word Rajarshi means one who is externally king and internally rishi. बाहर से एक्सटर्नल ग्रोथ है, अंदर से इंटरनल fulfillment है. If these two combinations are not there, the legacy will not be established. And therefore, what Chanakya said, he said that dharmasya moolam artham. Dharmasya moolam artham. Arth dharma ka mool hai. Imagine. Therefore, in our scripture, we see Shakti and Shaktiman. Right? Dharma and Dharma's patni. We can do one time. Dharma ki patni. Dharma Shraddha. Dharma Smriti. Dharma, Dhriti. इनके विवाह होने से क्या क्या परिणाम होते हैं. So therefore, the scriptures are very clear. Till 17th century, in one sense, the whole claim of the Mughals ruled the entire India is one of the biggest humbug. How can they rule when they were savages? They ruled large part of North India, some part of South India, but other part, there were different kinds of local kings. They managed their states very well. No? And therefore, if you study carefully, that the India's GDP, if you want to consider GDP like that, it was more than 26% because they knew the art of balancing dharma and artha. In the modernity, what has happened, there is a huge conflict between artha, aggressive artha, then aggressive moksha. No, there is no integration between achieving spiritual perfection and achieving certain material stability. So therefore, remember Rajarshi, the concept of Rajarshi. And therefore, what is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is not simply a book of philosophy. Bhagavad Gita is also a book which teaches you how to apply. Arjuna did not become simply a philosopher. He took his weapons and fought the war. He became Rajarshi. हाथ में धनुष था, हार्ट में, उनके प्रिय भगवान. So this combination is what is expected of dharmic kingdom or a dharmic person.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so we meet people who are very successful in their pursuits. There are students who are doing very well. So how do we introduce them to the sage within them? What do you suggest we should talk about the sage inside from a very practical perspective?
See, again, that requires some piety, some background, because sometimes the modern success is caused by many factors. If they don't have that understanding only, they don't want to be part of it, there is no need to force. Those who are coming, those who want to learn, focus on them. Somewhere give them little connection to through some meditation, through kirtan, through little philosophy. If they are able to do little bit, so they can rise the inner reality. Right? Otherwise, their Brahmastra, they'll go watch Brahmastra movie. Right? Or they will go and glorify the Queen of Britain. Oh, she was, as if the Queen was their grandmother. A lot of this elitists in India, they are basically mourning. Yes, we don't curse. I wrote that article on Queen. We don't curse anybody. Lord Ramachandra even respectfully allowed Ravan to be cremated. Shivaji Maharaj allowed Afzal Khan to be cremated. That's so similarly she deserves. The Queen deserves that. India as a country, I'm hurt, but I can understand where it comes from. Because she holds the position, that big position, as a formality. They said, okay, we will bring down the flag for one day. All right? But for the understanding has to be very clear. So therefore, when people have this conflict in regards to what is right, what is wrong, what should be lamented, what should be sensitive, when that confusion is there, then people don't want to be, reconciling between Rishi and Raja. And most of the time, even those who are in the leadership or management, they focus only on making Rajas or only focus on making the Rishis. So when we make Rishi or only make you Raja, then that will create a lot of conflict, in the society. And therefore, the goal has to be oneself understand this concept, apply in one's life, and grow nicely. It's possible.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So there's a question by Abhinav Ji who says, how not to panic when something goes wrong?
Again, if situation when something goes wrong, becoming panicky, one should not feel anything wrong about it. It is but natural. Imagine a snake enters into somebody's house. You panic, but how long you stay panic? That is the problem. To suffer a loss is a natural reality, but how long you want to stay suffering? That is not real. That is not correct. So therefore, our past and our present do create certain emotional outburst, but they should not be our decision making factor or our definition as such. Our definition has to be based upon what I do for tomorrow, what I do for strategically growing in life. So therefore, this is from a practical perspective. And if your panicky is very unrealistic, unnatural, then they need healing. They need to deal with their past karma through different kinds of, sankalpa, through worship of the devatas, and taking certain healing practices. And of course, naturally, without the spiritual substance, everything else become less important. So spirituality and these things will help anybody to overcome any kind of panicky situation, but it takes time. You should be willing to put that energy and efforts.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we saw that when the Queen, there was this death ceremony of the Queen, and there were some young children from St. James School. They were chanting shlokas of the Rig Veda. So, it was quite nice to see.
When did you see that? When would this happen?
This happened during the ceremony, Prabhuji. I sent you the video also.
That's an old video.
Oh, that's an old video. Okay.
Yeah. That's not that is different function.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, teaching children about Vidur NITI and Chanakya NITI, do you suggest they should be taught in schools at a young age?
Yes, smartness nowadays, unfortunately, even the kids growing up in a Marwadi family, and then all the business family or administrative family, they have lost the what do you call, the art of bargain and negotiation. They have become crying babies. There's a difference between crying for some gifts, some toys, and learning the art of bargaining and negotiation. Bargaining and negotiation is the skill developed because you know who you are and you need to grow and you need to bargain for, because that is how the world functions. A crying person is basically begging her, mujhe chahiye, mujhe chahiye, mujhe chahiye, I want this dad, I want this mom. So there's a difference. So we are producing children or even grown-up people who are crying rather than standing and bargaining and negotiating. So therefore, these dharma shastras or niti shastras, then adhyatma shastra, then the nyaya shastra, then the mimamsa philosophy, they make a person a very complete person. They make them successful also, make them fulfilled also.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Shinaji too had said, life is unfair, negotiate with it. Prabhuji, one last question. Would you suggest any book on Vidur NITI?
Mahabharat, it's there in the Mahabharat itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, there's a question which has just come. Should we take it or we can take it?
Yeah.
So this is by Lakshmikant Prabhuji. He says that in relationship, when you face problems, when we see the in-laws are harassing badly our siblings, then out of concern of future, we don't retaliate or correct the wrong initially, and then later it becomes a norm. And when we start facing these injustices, then we get into more complications, and the family gets into even more trouble. So I think it's about maybe the grandparents pampering children, and parents are not doing much about it. And
so therefore again, the toughness, the concept which is very much is there in our scripture, is that in this world, please hear, there is no such thing as unconditional love. It's one of the greatest myth people talk about, unconditional love. Because when you unconditionally love somebody, you become blind. When you receive unconditional love from somebody else, you become pampered. It becomes poison. Therefore, even in Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami explains, Dadati prati granati, guhyam atyati prachati, bhungte bhujayate chaiva, shadbir priti lakshana. What is priti? The common sense priti is defining, collecting from different scripture. There is a reciprocation, giving gift and receiving gift, serving food and eating food from others, sharing confidential information with each other. Similarly, if you are only taking and if you are not giving, or if you are only giving, not taking, those relationships bound to fail. If not with them, others will see and say, we don't want to be like this. My mother, my father, get exploited royally, and in the name of maintaining everything so nicely, they don't want to do anything, so I don't want to respect such person. So therefore it is important that, like we see, officially one may not speak ill about Mahatma Gandhi in India, but if you ask people confidentially, they'll say that this philosophy is so impractical. The philosophy by Ahimsa is so impractical. Now people are openly speaking about it. But if you study the philosophy, not because Gandhi said or this person said, that philosophy is basically non-starter. Because if you are not assertive in life, people will keep slapping you again and again, again and again, again and again. And how long will you handle somebody slapping you? You'll break your face, or you become so mad, you'll break their face. So either way, it is violent. So therefore, it's important we teach ourselves and others smartness, the skill of negotiation, at the same time, the foundational principle of peace, non-violence, Adhyatma. Read 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and what is the conclusion of that chapter? Arjuna did not become a non-violent. He became dharmically warrior, doing judicious violence and not becoming violent forever in his life. He had the maturity and the principle of yoga to balance between the two.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
We'll see next